here with Chris Canty talking Eagles and Rams. Nick Foles in for the injured Carson Wentz, just like last year. A little more than 11 minutes left in the third quarter. We're tied at 13. Foles to Alshon Jeffrey. Where's he been? 50-yard gain puts the Eagles on the 9-yard line. Next play, this is Wendell Smallwood. This is Wendell Smallwood getting into the end zone. One of his 2 touchdowns on the day. Eagles take the 7-point lead. Rams would keep fighting, though. Last play of the game, Eagles blitz. Jared Goff gets the pass off, but it was too high. Time runs out on Goff and the Rams. That is the ball game. Rams lose to Nick Foles and the Eagles. 30-23 is your final. Somehow, some way, Eagles keep their playoff hopes alive. Here's the man of the hour, Nick Foles, after the game.
You hate for your teammate to get hurt. I've said before, you know, I feel really bad for Carson. I mean, we're tight in that QB room. But then when you don't really know what's going to happen. You start taking reps. It's been a while. You go through the human emotions. I don't care what you've done in the past or what I've done in the past. It doesn't matter when you step on that field. It's a new day. So it was really just dealing with the emotions, prepping as hard as I could, and then realizing I'm not alone. I have great teammates out there. All I have to do is spread the ball around, lean on them, stay in the moment, and we were able to do that tonight. It's a huge win for us.
All right, Chris Canty, let's break this down a little. How did the Eagles do it? How did they pull off an upset without their quarterback on the road against this Rams team?
A couple of things. Number one, I thought that Sean McVay got away from his running game and Todd Gurley. Now, I know he had the knee injury in that game, but, I mean, just 12 rush attempts for Todd Gurley.
Does Todd Gurley look the same to you? Because to me, and I also take in consideration the lack of attempts. Sometimes when you have a star player like that, the team knows he's hurt, so they don't give him the ball. And do you think that might be because
second straight week? See, to your point, remember first?
Because I just think he looks totally different than the Todd Gurley that we've seen.
And you know what, Sean McVay might be trying to spell him a little bit, knowing that this is about the playoffs and knowing that they're trying to preserve him and make sure that he's at his best when we get to the postseason. But I mean, the formula for the Rams' success ain't Jared Goff dropping back 55 times. Ooh. Like that ain't gonna get it done. So I think you couple that with the fact that their defensive line didn't get any sacks yesterday.
No,
like no sacks. Like, for as great as Aaron Donald is, I mean, somebody that deserves MVP consideration, you would think that those edge pass rushers would have a little bit more productivity. Dante Fowler Jr., Ebukam, like, we need to put them on milk cartons. They were missing yesterday. So, I mean, that's why Nick Foles was able to have the success that he did. And you look at what those guys on the back end did, there was a little bit of guessing, like that jump ball that he threw up to Alshon Jeffrey or Nelson Aguilar. Right. I'm not sure who Nick Foles was throwing the ball to, but you saw that those guys were guessing back there. They weren't playing fundamentally sound. So I look at this team and I say, when you get away from your running game offensively, which is your identity, and then you couple that with those guys not being able to put pressure on the passer, that spells that's a recipe for disaster for the Rams. And so I think that's why the Eagles were able to take the trip West Coast and be able to pull the upset.
The 11-2 Rams, because that's where they were before this game, and what we saw for them, very, very explosive offense through the first 15 weeks of the season, getting around 30 points a game. So the defense, that that we got 30 points, so we don't even have to play the run. I knew that this lack of a run defense going to come back to haunt you, because in the NFL, regardless, if teams can see that they can take advantage of that, they will run the football to take advantage of you. Now you open yourself up for the play action. Aaron Donald, I don't believe, should be in the MVP conversation, because getting all those sacks, you running past a lot of running backs, and you can't be on that type of poor defense. No defensive MVP has been on the defense as poor against the run as them. So that's one of the signs of you as a defensive tackle. You're supposed to stop the run. So if you're going to be in the MVP conversation, let me see how many tackles for losses that you have that aren't on the quarterback. So I thought that would be a hole that ultimately would come back to get him. Since Cooper Kupp's been lost, his offense has been different. One surprising thing about it was I was surprised at the Coliseum on a Sunday night. There was many Eagles fans there. Man, it was an uproar when the Eagles made any type of play. And the reason why I'm going to bring that, because when you got 11 wins, you in Los Angeles, you in the Coliseum, people should be coming to see that type of product. And we have known that people aren't in love with football in Los Angeles, and I was able to see that in this game. I know people might not be talk about some things on the field. Well, that to me led to the Eagles being able to, the momentum they had, being able to play to their fan base. It led to them, the Rams, not being able to mount some type of comeback, and they're the #2 seed. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about a team coming out there in the wild card round or the divisional round having no home field advantage. That to me would be a problem.
To your point on home field advantage, I wish I remembered who it was, but one of the beat writers covering the team tweeted during the game that during the Green Bay home game, the Kansas City home game, and now the Philly home game for the Rams, they all felt to the writer like they were at a Super Bowl because it felt like it was about 50-50 as far as crowd support. That does not speak well for whatever team comes into that building, in whatever round. And this was, I understand wanting to spell Todd Gurley. I get it. But this was a wildly important football game for them. You just spent the last segment accurately talking about how difficult it is to go into New Orleans and win. New Orleans hadn't played yet this week. New Orleans got 2 left against Carolina, 1 left against Pittsburgh. They could still lose 1 or 2 games. The Rams, had they won last night as 13.5-point favorites, they're potentially in position tomorrow morning to be the 1 seed.
Absolutely.
And have it not go through the Superdome. So I think it is the Rams team, their passing game the last 3 weeks has been leaking oil. Jared Goff, the last 3 weeks, has looked the shakiest he's looked since Sean McVay has taken over. Not surprisingly, the last 2 weeks, the first back-to-back losses of the entire Sean McVay era, which is pretty damn impressive because he took over a bad team, and now it's been 31 games. They haven't lost back-to-back. But holistically, for the Rams, and what we're seeing is that Cooper Kupp injury, you mentioned it earlier, seems to have been bigger than we gave it credit for. Because, Josh Reynolds came in and he played well, but whatever it was, whether it's almost
they don't have a pure slot receiver. Josh Reynolds is not a slot receiver. They played Woods in the slot, but now they don't have that designated go-to friendly, because they're not going to force the ball to their tight end. So now they become a little one-dimensional in obvious passing situations.
Canty, how much of it is that Gurley and Goff aren't playing the way we've seen them play early in the season, and how much of it is that defense are starting to figure out what this offense and what Sean McVay's plan for them?
Well, what they want to do is not complicated. I mean, they're almost an exclusive 11 personnel team. So that means 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end. And Jared Goff operates under center more so than any quarterback in the National Football League. So their offense is built on being able to hand the ball off, and then when they have an effective ground game, being able to utilize play action and throw the ball over the middle. But what teams are doing is on early downs and distances, they are dropping an extra defender down in the box. We saw the Chicago Bears do that last Sunday night. And then that makes, when you limit the effectiveness of the run game, that takes away the play action over the middle, the easy throws for your quarterback. So right now, teams are daring Jared Goff to beat him. And I don't feel like Jared Goff has done a great job of that the last few weeks. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing when I look at this Rams team. And, Nick, you're right. I thought that was a huge loss for them because you think about it now, the Chicago Bears are just 1 game back.
With the tiebreaker.
The 1 game back with the tiebreaker from being able to get that 2nd seed. So, I mean, the Rams still got some work to do for the rest of the regular season over these next couple of weeks.
And they're fortunate that over the rest of the season, what they have is the 2 divisional opponents that are 2 bad teams. They are at Arizona and then home for the Niners, even though the Niners playing better lately. Like, they should be able to go 2-0 down the stretch. But one thing we're seeing with Goff is, so he went 1 in the draft, Wentz went 2 a few years ago. Wentz is, even post-injury, very comfortable with rushers around him. Keeps his eyes upfield, looks for guys, will shake guys off. Goff does not seem nearly as comfortable with people at his feet, with people under when the pocket is collapsing. And all of a sudden, the last few weeks, against the Bears pass rush and an invigorated Eagles pass rush, he's been skittish is the perfect word, and he's played the 2 worst games that he's played since his rookie season.
All right, let's take a break. Chris, we'll see you a little bit later on in the show. Coming up, are we starting to see the end of the Patriots' dominance? We'll talk about that next on First Things First.
The fat lady's stretching. Well,
there it is.
You see it, Nick. You see it.